everybody, and welcome to another week of Tryhard Tuesdays, where we learn to hopefully try a little bit harder. I am your host, the Grand Wazoo. Sitting here with me is none other than Mr. Blue 22. How's it going, Blue?
Good. I'm glad to be virtually next to you in the lounge there that you guys have set up. But yeah, man, it's I'm excited to talk about this one. I'm like a complete nerd for this topic, but I'm gonna let you introduce it.
Okay, well, let's first talk about our games, because I saw you playing Sven the other night. And I was like, why is he playing my hero?
Oh God, yeah, it's your hero. You can keep it. Like you can take it.
Too good for you?
No, just to walk up and try and bonk stuff, and it really feels like whack-a-mole with that guy. Just like you blink in and they blink out. And, you blink in, you get a couple hits off on one person. You're like, great, they're dead, and then there's four other people running in circles around you. Like shooting squirt guns at you, and you're just like this behemoth that just wants to man fight, and no one wants to, and it's not fun. I don't like it. I don't like playing hard carry. This is not fun. Wah.
You're pretty much Sauron in the Lord of the Rings flashbacks when he's just like hitting like four guys down at once and they all go flying back. You're that pretty much.
Yeah, only I don't cry like a bitch when my little, pinky ring or whatever, my ring finger gets, cut off. But other than that, that is truth, because that dude hits hard when he actually gets to hit.
You can build him in a way. I mean, you can kind of build him in that aura type, I don't know, speed Sanjin Yasha with Assault Cuirass type build. You know what I mean? Kind of like build him like that fighting build you kind of see on Alchemists and stuff sometimes or something. Like you can build him in different ways. And
for sure.
I've been kind of building him in different ways and realizing how much better it is just because people I've played with have been like, you don't do the cleave build? And I'm like, no, I do the old build from when I played pubs 4 years ago. You know what I mean? Like
Q and hit hard with the Q.
And I was just doing Rogue Knight's quest. It wasn't Dota to me. It was like, I used to play Bounty Hunter for like 200 games, and I played Sven for 200 games. And I just kind of played that style, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
If you can even call it that, But
you know what I found like super frustrating about him is just that you get slot starve pretty quick on him. Like you basically need a blink dagger, and you really want to have some lifesteal. So there goes two items right there, and then you almost always get treads. There's another one, and then you need a TP scroll because people don't want to fight into you. Crazy idea, right? You don't want to fight into a guy who like right clicks for a living. So they're going to try and fight around you, especially when there's like an anti-mage on the other team or some kind of split pusher. And it's just super frustrating, and you need, like, those are 4 essential items, and then you need to go back for your major items. And then it's like, okay, what do I have to drop after this? Do I want to drop my helm? Do I want to turn that into a satanic first? Do I need some damage? So there's like a lot of variety that you can, run with this guy, but there's like a core set of items, and of course BKB. How could I forget BKB? Like there's at least 2 to 3 items.
It's always worth it though to have your BKB, even at 5 seconds, in my opinion. And if you end a game with Boots of Travel, Blink, BKB, Satanic, Sanjin Yasha, and then you're like have an MKB or something like that, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? And you can still get around the map entirely. You can blink if you ever get caught. You can just BKB and hopefully blink out and teleport. You know what I mean? Like, he does become a pretty good hero if you build him correctly. I can see what you mean by the slot starving thing, because I'm someone who also builds drums on him every single time with the helm. Like, I get drums every time. It's always worth it for me on that hero, because you can catch everybody with that and Warcry. You know what I mean? Like, you're just on top of everybody.
It depends on how well your game's going, though, because sometimes I've seen people pick up, like I don't know, I've seen some guys that are streaming, and they're not, like, pros, but they're, getting there, and they go for this build where it's like brown boots straight into Helm of the Dominator, and then they get their treads. They go back for it, but they get the helm so that they can, because they go for that cleave build where that you max out, or you at least get 3 points in cleave.
It's good.
And then they take their Dominated creep and they just go stack, the Ancients or a hard camp, something like that over and over, and then they cleave that down, and all of a sudden they have power treads, Sanjin Yasha, and Helm of the Dominator like 15 minutes, and you're like, holy shit, these guys are wrecked.
That's a pretty fantastic lead into our topic of the day. I mean, I guess you can see that both both of our, I guess, playing and enjoyment of the game has kind of been revitalized. At least mine has. I'm enjoying it a lot more. Enjoying playing old heroes and seeing them in the context of this new meta or the new heroes that are played. You know what I mean? It's interesting.
Yeah, sure.
Like, not getting yelled at if I want to run a Jug off lane or something, or a Sven off lane. Like, as crazy as it sounds, at this level, it's not, because I can try to really exploit what I know about the safe lane and kind of make that guy's day a living hell. You know, have different objectives. But with that idea of Sven dominating a creep early on and going for that item to stack, I mean, that's what we're going to be talking about today a lot, is mechanics, and I don't know how mechanics relate to each other in the grand scheme of Dota, because it quickly becomes something that can really eke out that edge. It's nothing we've talked about. We've tended to stick to the more metaphysical parts, the ungraspables of Dota, rather than kind of talking about these stark mechanical realities that if you build these skills up, then it's a huge part of the game. And if you don't meet that level of mechanical prowess, then you're never going to be as good as someone who has.
It's like technique. It's like technique in sports, right? Like if you...
It's like your dribble in b-ball.
That's... Wow, you can really talk to the sports culture.
I'm talking to the youth right now.
The youth.
Yeah. It's like a backhand in badminton.
There you go. That's
Minton?
very relatable. It's like a something croquet. I don't know. Like I got nothing.
I believe it's called a wallop.
A wallop? Is it really?
No, I don't know. It just sounded.
That sounds like I would believe you. That's the problem. I am really gullible when it comes to...
It's called a Skalanka dunk.
It's called a Krishnu, and
Krishnu.
start naming Indian gods.
Yeah,
That sounds right.
Croquet is from India, after all, for the sake of this.
Obviously.
But you have been talking to me, and I've seen you grow as a player of mechanical prowess. I would say, like, in the past year, I've seen you really take to these heroes that do have some complicated mechanics, and you've gotten good at them. The Wind Ranger, your Embers, your Earthshakers, heroes like this that have a lot of interactions and can possibly really mess up a gank or something with their interactions. What's the best mechanical thing you think you've learned in the past little while?
I don't know. I think the big thing, and I'm just trying to think of stuff that really applies to a lot of different heroes, and that's really the notion of bottles and working around the bottles, whether you're a support, whether you're a mid, or even the off lane. I mean, there was something I just found out a couple days back, was that they added the bottle with one charge in the off lane, where you can buy that straight from the side shop. I had no idea about that, and it blew my mind. I was really pissed, because this is like one of those things that I'm like a super Dota 2 geek about, that I love to know all of those little tricks.
Wait, you can buy a bottle from the side shop?
Yeah, and it has one charge in it.
Currently?
Yes.
When was this added?
6.86.
Interesting. I had no idea about that either, but I don't play much offlane.
See, I play offlane. I was pissed because I was like, how do I not freaking know this? But so yeah, I found out that by I think either someone on the show here, maybe Ursinity or Proud, or one of them mentioned it during the Thursday show, and I was like, wow, that's awesome. And anyways, getting back in a bottle, just in general, just things like dropping your stat items before you use the bottle. It's not a big deal, later in the game, past maybe the 20-minute mark, but it, like, the 7-minute mark, when you have your tread switching, so you're not getting strength or intelligence, and then using that bottle, the amount of efficacy you get out of that is massive.
And let me tell you why. That mechanical reaction works like that. I think some people don't understand that, but it's percentage based entirely. So if you are 80% full on your health, and that number happens to be 1200 when you have strength on, then it's going to take more to get you to that 100%, right? But if you're at int and it puts you at 800 to say 900 health, then you're at, 750. So it's going to be less of a number amount, but the percentage is going to be the same to max. You know what I mean?
You're reducing the denominator,
right?
And the numerator is still going to go up at the same rate. Therefore, your percentage of your health is going to stay. So if you drop your item and you go from 60% health to 70% health, let's say, and you were at 900, and then you go up to 1,000. Well, you're still going to have that 70% health, right? So you'll be at 700 health, whereas before you may not have. And that is the difference. Like, it's little differences like that are the difference between, surviving an extra right click from a support who's trying to kill you in the off lane, or surviving, the nuke from a Lina, who's going for that like level 6 combo, where she's trying to,
or a wicked no scope sunstrike.
Yeah, wicked no scope sunstrike. You should.
There are always no scopes though, really.
But like stuff like that, it can make a huge difference, because very often in the early game, it's not like you get stomped. I mean, you get stomped maybe like 15% of the time, right? If you're losing. Yeah. But it's the other 85% of the time where you're just a hair off, where you were just a couple right clicks away from killing him, or you were just 5 mana away from that last spell you needed to kill, to secure a kill. And when you have the ability and the know-how to not only know that you can do these things, but to quickly do them and just make them part of your kind of the automated process that is playing, like dropping drums before you use your magic wand, which is full of like 15 charges. So instead of having to go back to base, you just drop the drums, use the wand, and all of a sudden you're back to like 2/3, 3/4 health. As a carry, I mean, that could be huge, right? That could be the difference between 50 last hits, by the 10-minute mark, or 40. And that, that number, those kind of numbers increase exponentially. So the inches that you eke out early on in this in Dota really stretch themselves out throughout the course of the game.
And so for our listeners that don't understand like why people would drop items and stuff, it's because of that, what we just explained. If you've ever seen people dropping items and stuff and using healing or mana boots or something like that, that's why. It's because they have a lower health pool a lower health pool there, and then they use that stuff to, make it fuller, and then they pick their items up after, and they're at the same percentage. So that's interesting, and it's good to quantify what you mean.
Yeah, mana boots is a perfect example. When you're playing those heroes that are really like mana starved and gank oriented, so you have like a Tusk or a Earthshaker, or I don't know, what are some other examples of heroes that really need the mana to get out their abilities and don't have a lot to work with? Ogre magic.
Ogre's a great example.
You want to make sure you're dropping if someone else is using mana boots, say, are you going to use mana boots? Drop your mana boots before he uses his, because 250 mana, like dropping that much amount and then gaining 100 after that fact is a huge amount that you're getting. That's maybe 2 or 3 spells worth of spells of mana that you have to work with, and it's something that you see. A lot of newer players don't know about because they have so many other things to worry about. So I guess one thing we should preface this is if you already kind of know the basic mechanics of Dota, we're really going to talk more about these kind of mechanics where it's that next level, right? What are those little mechanics that you're maybe aware of but don't know, just can't quantify what the importance is for you.
I feel like we have to put a disclaimer on this past dropping items and stuff. There's a place and time for everything, folks.
Well, of course. There's always those, like those...
I've seen people drop stuff like the worst times, like with a roaming BH or something, and it just like hits it out of nowhere, and he's like, what?
It's obviously situational.
You're down like a big item or something, like a ring of health or something. Like, not much, but a little.
Right. If someone has a Shadow Blade on the enemy team, at that point, probably best not to drop the items unless you see them on the map, right?
Yeah. So that's just my slight disclaimer.
Yeah, it's a good disclaimer to have. It's just one of those things where you don't want to... You also, on the other hand, you don't want to discourage people from trying that out, because the only way you get good and quick about it is by doing it yourself. And Roland is a perfect example. I mean, I've talked about this with Roland. He's very good mechanically, and he can do these things successfully, and he has the know-how to do them. It's just having the confidence in yourself that you will drop the item and pick it up immediately. I mean, it's because a wand is instant, a bottle less so, but even if you don't get the full charge out, it's okay. The initial 2 seconds that you get from the charge is really what you want to be getting out of it. So it's just like you won't get good at it until you really put forth an effort to try it out. Maybe
have you ever lost any items in such a fashion?
I'll be honest, I have not, and I do this all the time.
I killed someone's boots the other day, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a perfect disclaimer. Good. If there's a bounty hunter on the other team, or there's a Ricky on the other team, and you're not under your tower, well, yes, then you don't want to be doing that.
Relax, don't do it would be the song for it.
Yes, but I mean, power treads is a perfect example. You still can find ways to eke out that extra amount of mana, the extra amount of health by just switching to agility.
Yeah, don't take my point though, Blue, because I'm gonna talk tread switching.
Let's do it.
Magic fingers transition. We're bringing back the .p production value. Ginger fingers, as they're called with Blue.
What?
Sounds like a Burger King promotional item they might try out.
Seriously, oh,
the year is 2026. Gingers are being tracked down because people love their fingers. Can you imagine the world?
It's alright, I'll get those things replaced with like some mechanical fingers. Yeah, some cyborg fingers modeled after like Flash.
Then you finally break 4K. Hey-oh.
Hey, now, I'm close. I can smell it, all right? I'm getting there.
What are you at?
We'll talk about that later because I'm having a great, like, ugly duckling turning into meeting the swans moment, but we'll talk about that later.
But you're still an ugly duckling? You're just
Remind me so I don't forget. No, I'm not. I swear to God, I'm becoming a beautiful swan because I'm meeting other swans. I'm not with the duckling.
Well, thank you. I mean, I feel the same way about you, kinda. Well, I feel like we're panthers. Well, you know.
We're wild. We're just panthers in the wild. That's right. And we've been stuck with these fat ass lions. The male lions just sitting on their ass.
Or an ostrich, like an ostrich gaggle or whatever they're called.
Holy Mother God, we are going. This is
okay. Sorry, that was the transition.
Like
okay, we were actually like doing a big thing, you know, whatever. But we're gonna transition into tread switching, and what it started to mean to me from going from an action that it wasn't so much a conscious action as I would look and be like, I'm weak, I'm getting hit, I have int boots on, I'm dead, to I'm being hit, I can get a little bit of extra health there, you know, and I'm already toggling before I'm even thinking about it. It's that moment when it stops being something you think about and it just becomes an automatic resource you realize you have. And you, at least in my experience, I start to look at it as another item I can use. And so that's something that's really just helped me out. I don't just look at my boots as awesome, I get health, but I look at it as, can I TP if I switch to int? Can I use this spell if I switch to int? Where will I be health-wise if I'm here? And once you know that, and depending on what kind of hero you're playing, then it can really help you just eke out that little bit extra if you need to survive or if you need to hurry and TP out. It's those little things, you know, like you were talking about with escaping the last right click, you know, if you toggle to strength. And that's something I've been doing a ton lately because I play specifically Treads heroes almost. And it's just incredibly useful. Probably saves my ass like once or twice a game to either be able to TP out in time because I'm like at 45 and I can get to that last 75 needed by going to int or something, or I'm going to get dinked and I toggle to strength at the last moment, make it behind a tower. Like,
for sure.
And it's not because I'm doing this like, oh, I need to do this tread switching. It's just like my other items that are on cooldown, or if I've used them in this moment where I need to, I just look at that now as another item that I can kind of just, and there I am, like higher health. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's and the armlet helps with that.
Efficiency resource.
Exactly. It's an efficiency resource that when you understand that kind of percentage gain, you understand what it means to get that little bit more sometimes, you know? Like it can, if you're caught out, it can very well be the thing that makes sure you get away. Make sure you do get away. You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's a resource that I think is highly, highly underlooked.
It is. That is. I think tread switching is one of the first things that people can do because treads, like you said, are so like just they're so ubiquitous in Dota 2. There's so many heroes that get treads. And it can be an offlaner, it can be a mid, it can be a carry, it can even be a support at times. You see that.
Interestingly enough.
And treads, there's a reason that treads are widely considered by higher level players to be the best boot that you can get for your money, and that's exactly it. Is that as long as you are using it to its optimum efficiency, and you're not just sitting there going like, oh great, I have treads, I have 9 strength, so now I'm a little tankier. Right? If you look at it that way, that is a kind of closed-minded viewpoint of what that item can do for you on an efficiency scale and what it can do for you to open up spells, open up opportunities to kill, things like that. And I mean, the best way to get good at it is to play heroes that really, really, really rely on it. So I guess some good examples would be even a Sven, right? A Sven is a hero that you need to make sure you're maximizing your mana pool as much as you can because he has such a low mana pool. And you really, switching to int treads before you fire out your stun, your hammer, could mean the difference between having enough mana after that to use your ultimate, or after that to use, the extra war cry to run people down.
And effectively, it takes less mana if you look at it that way, because you cast the spell while in mana. It used the 140 or whatever it costs at the first, second, or third level, or fourth level. I think it's all the base is the same, which is like 140 to 160. Yep. And after you cap on the int, maybe when you go back to strength, it takes off that percentage cap, kind of lowering it, which means you have more effective mana to use.
Right, you're playing with the denominator.
Right, and so mathematically, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to conceptualize, like especially if you're not a math mind. I'm certainly not in ways, but just look at it as you always have that extra to use now. Like it's there in your pool, and then when you toggle back, it'll be at the same as before, the same percentage. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense.
The percentage is what changes, and the number changes. But it's mainly like just look at it in terms of percentages, I think.
Yeah, you're lowering or increasing the denominator, the total, and the numerator is going to be the constant, right? The constant being the amount of mana that it costs. That cost will remain the same, but the amount that is used out of your whole chunk of the pool that you have will vary based on what tread switching you're doing, or whether or not you have your arcane boots on the ground or not. This applies to really all the things that we've talked about. And just to give some more, real life examples, we talked about, you just mentioned Sven, but a hero that I used to play a lot more, and I still, enjoy every once in a while, but is a hero that is a perfect example of how important tread switching is Slark. That's a hero who blows a lot of mana, and if you do not tread switch, you feel it, like you really feel it, because his ability to farm is dependent on his Dark Pact, which is an ability that costs 40 mana, and then you have Pounce on top of that, which costs 75, and then his Shadow Dance, which costs 120. These are all very short cooldown abilities, so if you're able to tread switch where you are going to int treads before you press Q, the Dark Pact, and then you switch to strength treads right after you do that
to clear the camp or whatever, and then
clear the camp, and you're also at the same time you're using less mana, and on top of that, when you switch back to the strength, you're using less of your own health, right? Because he takes 50% of the damage, so you're saving yourself both on your health pool and your mana pool when you do that. And when you see good Slarks playing, they are constantly doing that. It's just part of the rhythm of how they farm, how they go from camp to camp, right, to farm up their creeps. Same thing applies to Anti-Mage with his Blink, right? You switch to int treads to Blink, switch immediately back to strength or at agility treads, depending on the game situation. If you're worried you're going to get ganked, you just keep it on strength. If you just want to farm the camp a little faster, you go to agility.
It's pretty interesting. That's almost a more advanced description of Anti-Mage, kind of his blinking back and forth between camps. Because he's a jungle hero, but one of the reasons he's such an amazing jungle hero in ways after he gets his Battle Fury is because you can just toggle the int and blink between camps and clear them out super quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're not doing that toggling, then it's a lot harder to maintain, So you're not, unless you have like an item like a Vlad's and you're like getting close to other things, like you don't have that regen quite, you know what I mean, to be able to not save that resource.
Oh yeah, this is really, for tread switching, especially on Anti-Mage, it's really that period right after you get Battle Fury where you really need to make sure you're making your tread switching count. And that really, it can be small stuff like that gets you an extra 6 to 8 creeps a minute, where you don't have to go back to base to get that mana pool back up, or maybe you took some extra damage because you left it on int treads instead of switching to strength or agility to clear the camp faster. These are small things that over time will make you a marginally better player bit by bit. And if you're doing all these things, for me at least, it's made a huge impact on how I play, and it's become, I've tried to make it part of just how I play in general and how I like to improve. They're very small, tangible things that you can work with that are not like this broad, I don't want to die as much when I play carry, right? It's so easy to say that, and it's so hard to enact it, to make it a reality when you play, because there's so many variables in this game, And if you have these small things where you know, well, at least when I have treads, it is always in my control to be able to tread switch properly, right? It's always in my control.
I'm glad that you are using that word, because there's so few things that are controllable in Dota, that to have these little factors, like if you stack a camp or not, or if you can toggle and you can get away, or if you can TP out if you toggle, or if you drop these things to gain more mana so you can stay in lane longer. These are factors you can control, in fact, as a player. And when you get really good at these things, you realize they transcend just an individual hero skill you might have and carry over to every hero you play. And so it becomes something that you can always rely on to kind of eke out that extra advantage. I like that you use that word, because that's a perfect way to put it. Ooh.
Ruh-roh.
It was one of those shot glasses, black card shot glasses you sent us.
No,
it didn't break
send
it.
At least 18 more now.
Didn't break it. It's resilient. But
yeah, man. I mean, talking about some other like weird mechanics that that you have to, that people may not consider right off the bat, and especially that I need to work on, is even stuff like teleporting, like clicking on the map and making sure that you're teleporting exactly where you want to go. It was something I noticed when I was, working with Roland just before this episode, was that sometimes, and I do this too, sometimes you want to get back in the fight immediately, right? And you click on, your item for teleport scroll, and you just click on the minimap, and you're not sure exactly where you're going because you haven't actually looked at the area before you TP in. And taking that extra like half second to survey the map and make sure that you're teleporting either super far away from your allied heroes so you don't have that TP delay, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, general type of map awareness.
Where you want to avoid the Power Rangering in, as I think Ursinity and some others
I like it.
have dubbed it,
I've
where
never
you
heard
have
that before,
everyone
but I really
teleporting
like it.
next to each other. Yeah, it mega delays your teleports. So your response is super delayed, and those extra 3 or 4 seconds that you take.
It's such a good game, man. Like, it punishes you so well. Like,
yeah,
because that's a knee-jerk reaction for everyone on the map, and Dota wants to make sure that if everyone has that knee-jerk reaction, you're fucking punished for it.
Yeah,
that's
and everyone's got the same idea. And and to that concept, if I'm like an anti-mage, I don't want to blink right on top of them because I don't want them to see me coming. Why don't I TP behind the tower, right? Why don't I TP?
Or even to a tier 2, which people don't realize. But if you have tier 1 and tier 2 up by that point, it's not that long of a walk if you're a blink hero to just TP in the back so they don't see you.
Yeah, or other mechanics like, if they're trying to take high ground and maybe they dove, you buy back and you can teleport. You can actually teleport on your own low ground so they don't see you. I mean, that's another weird mechanic where it doesn't even seem intuitive, right? Like, you shouldn't be able to teleport to your low ground.
So what he means is you can teleport out the side of your base on either side, so you appear down on the low ground when you come back. Like, you just, and it's really awesome. I've been doing that. Like, hate to bring it back to Sven, but I've been playing him a ton, man. Liking Sveniger all the way. What's great about that is you are there, and then you're suddenly just behind them with a stun, a BKB, and your ult. And you can just cleave through an entire team before they even take your X.
Oh yeah, and
stuff like that punishes people at my level of play right now. Like, they just don't expect it. They're just like, he's back, but he's going to be coming from the front, surely, and you just rip him apart, man. Sauron.
Like, where the hell did that come from? You just come in and just do gangbusters on them. Yeah, I love that feeling when you get really sneaky like that, or you can like wrap around successfully. It's like a huge. I don't know. There's something I get my jollies off to that kind of shit where you're like, they don't have vision of that exact spot, and that's exactly where you went in, and you get the jump on all of them.
That's why a lot of people ward that higher area though, where it's hard to see from the other base. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
It's out of tower range, but it's that like little divot towards the bottom of the base. Yeah, that's a constant ward spot. But of course, it's easy to deward as well. But that's an interesting point. That's not intuitive. It's not. Yeah, and you can kind of look at it like reinforcements, right? I mean, if you buy back, you're there instantly in the fight. And that's what's great about buybacks, which is something we can go into a little bit now if you want to, the mechanics of a buyback, when you should use one. I think that's worth mentioning, as all these other things, because it effectively gives you another life, at great cost. I'm the king of the bad buyback, so I've hopefully learned.
the twitchy buybacks that like, oh shit, I gotta
you
get
see
back.
one guy like walking into his fountain, and you're like, I can get him. And you're like, dude, you're playing Wraith King. Like, you like boots of travel onto a creep and run into the fountain and die or something. I don't know. I've seen Roland do such things with Nature's Prophet, but
yeah, that's oh god, let's not. Or the legendary like Weaver buybacks into time lapse into like back to being 10% health. Oh man, that's a crushing one. I've seen that happen a couple times.
Someone like they do their time lapse right after buying back, and it puts them at almost dead again.
Oh, I know. And there's another one.
I didn't know that actually.
Oh yeah, if you buy back and you immediately time lapse, you go back to wherever you were like a few seconds before you died. I don't remember the exact time because I'm not a Weaver player, but
that's pretty hilarious. Can you queue that up accidentally? Like with
yeah, you can do that. If you're at full health, it's awesome because you go right back to the fight, like immediately, instantly back to the fight. But if you were like low for a long time and you buy back and you time lapse in, you will die. Like that is a professional feed right there. That's a pro level feed. That takes some skill to feed like that. So
we're all looking for new ways every day, each and every one of us.
Another one that really, like, another mechanic that people have to be aware of, and maybe not as much because this got nerfed, but I used to play a lot of Storm, as I've made obvious here, but when, back in the day when Bloodstone was super good, you'd get, like, tons of charges on Storm, and, you know, you thought, oh, you know, crap, I got a suicide here, and you're just spam clicking the Bloodstone, you're hoping, like, come on, I'm not going to let them get this big, you know, mega kill streak or whatever I have. I'm going to, you know, suicide. Well, if they kill you in that time and you don't get it off, you will respawn immediately and then suicide right after that. And that's happened to me a couple times. I'm sure that, you know, guys like Roland who used to play Storm can relate. It's and it's still prevalent. Like if you play a Leshrac, if you play a Death Prophet, you play any of the heroes that, you know, may or may not get Bloodstone. I'm not saying it's optimal on Death Prophet. In fact, I don't encourage it. But anyways, that's a different conversation. You know, just be aware that like the suicide mechanic is there, and people often forget about it. But there's also the flip side where you can do that, or you can get super like way too hung up on it, and you're spam clicking it, and you suicide yourself. That's another funny interaction I've thought of.
So these are funny ways to kill yourself, like funny ways to die, pretty much.
Yeah, we're just listing all the ways we fucked up. So
yeah, I can list one way I died that was really funny.
Let's hear it.
In an in-house, I ran into one of Childwin's walls, and I was playing Jug, and my Jug came right out and crit me down. Oof. Like one hit. Just
that's the power of Darkseer right there.
Yeah,
oh man,
I underestimated, and I just got bashed in the face by myself.
Oof,
that's not a weird mechanical reaction, although I've seen some like weird reactions with wall. When way too many people are in there, it's anarchy, man.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Darkseer is just one of those heroes that, like, as long as the heroes he's going up against are like decent right clickers, like he could be like the biggest carry on your team, and you don't even know it because of those illusions.
I like it.
Love it.
But how about we talk a bit about buybacks and what entails a good buyback? Because I definitely need a refresher. I think buybacks are one of those things that good players on your enemy team will punish you, you know? Or at least they'll like go and take a Rax and they'll force out buybacks and then they'll back up. Or they will, you know, force bad buybacks from you and then do whatever.
Here's a good mechanics to tie into this. And this is like even before we have the whether or not you buy back conversation is how do I know if I have buyback, right? Yep. Some people may not even realize this, but if you go into the game and you check on your gold, if you just hover the pointer over that amount of gold, it will tell you if you have a buyback status of ready or not ready, or how many seconds you have left on your cooldown for the buyback.
You can also alt-click it, and it'll say to all your friends, buyback ready.
And it will let everyone know, you buyback ready. So everyone's like, all right, let's go. Let's fucking do this, because he's got boots of travel. Come right back. And so, like, that's something just, you know, if you're not aware of, just be aware that that's a thing. And then also unreliable gold, the concept of unreliable gold.
Interesting. I'd like to talk about that, but let's cover buybacks a bit.
Yeah.
Or we can cover unreliable gold and then build into buybacks.
I just want to say unreliable gold is a thing. Be aware of it. The end.
So let's give it in a nutshell of unreliable, reliable gold. Where does reliable gold come from? Hero kills?
Yes.
Last hit of the creep?
No, it's passive gold. Is you get?
Oh, okay. Passive gold,
Pretty
hero
sure
kills, and Roshan. I think is it.
I think Roshan is definitely reliable gold.
Yeah.
That is reliable gold. Yeah.
But everything else is unreliable gold, which you can lose when you die. Is what it means.
Yes. Oh,
reliable means you hold on to it. And it cannot be accessed when the enemy kills you. They don't take from that gold, but the unreliable gold can be taken from you.
Something else I forgot about.
Which is from last hit of the creep, last hit of the jungle creep, the ancients, and wherever else you're gonna earn gold. Like I can't think of any other ways.
Well,
selling items.
Hannah Midas, Doom, the Doom Devour, the eat things. Grievel's Greed.
I think that it goes by what you kill, though. So
those are all reliable, or those are reliable gold.
Oh, interesting. So abilities.
Never mind. I just double checked this. All right.
So they're unreliable.
I
think it's the source they come from.
You shut your tramp mouth, because I'm about to throw down some knowledge for you.
Okay.
Bounty Hunter Track is reliable. Hannah Midas is reliable. I knew Hannah Midas was reliable, but this one I thought was reliable. It's not. It's unreliable. That's Doom Devour. It is unreliable. Same thing for Grievel's Greed. It is unreliable. So it's something to be aware of. Like, you can't depend completely on Devour to get that gold. But Hannah Midas is reliable gold. So if you Midas a creep, you are not going to lose that gold.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those weird, Dota 2 mechanics where it's like, if you feel like you're going to die, just Midas something, because in a lot of cases, especially early, it'll actually be more worth it for you to Midas something than to just spam by like 9 TPs because you're worried about losing unreliable,
Yeah. So when you get a first blood kill and then you die right off the bat, you're going to keep a good chunk of that gold because it is reliable. You know what I mean? And what you've been earning up to that point is reliable because it's over time. I mean, what about runes, Blue? Like bounty rune and stuff like that. Is that reliable gold?
Bounty runes are unreliable gold.
Yeah. So if you picked up a bounty and got a first blood and then died, like that bounty gold would go to them. Like that would be subtracted from the current gold you have, although the first blood kill would not, and any overtime gold that you gained at that point also would not.
Yeah.
And then the other money, if it didn't make up for all the money of the kill, would just be funded to them, from like the kill, the bounty or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the big thing with reliable gold, especially as like a support, and I'm reaching out to my poor supports here. Get in assist gold range. Get in the AoE gold range. That means if there is a kill going on, even if you're low health, as long as you don't feed, as long as there's not a possibility that you will die here, just make sure you're walking and you're near the place where the hero dies. And
slap of the man,
Yeah.
If they're all attacking a dude, slap of the man. Just hit him with your right click.
Just punch it.
Slappa. That you say punch, I say slappa. Parappa the slappa rappa, dude. Do you remember that game? It was so bad.
He would be a support. That's right. Oh god, that game. PlayStation 1, baby.
Yeah. It was a bad game.
But that game, I don't know, man. Maybe it's one of those games that I thought was cool when I was a kid, and then if you go back to it, it's really lame.
I watched a YouTube video of it like last month because I was very curious.
And you're like, this is bad. Did you think it was cool?
Back then I did because he was a rapper, and you would have to press the buttons. It was like an early Guitar Hero.
By default, all rappers.
And he'd be like, cool. I'm a puppy rapper in my puppy den, and you'd have to hit the X or the square or the triangle or the circle to have him rap right.
That's right. Wow.
And one of his trainers was like a dojo frog. Like he was like a karate frog, but he was like way good at rapping.
That's right. Oh my god.
Dude, I have a weird memory.
Amazing. It was fun. I don't know why I always associate that game with my cousin because she was the only girl in the this is on my dad's side, and they're all like it's just like a bunch. I think it's like 30 cousins I have on that side. It's a ton. It's an obscene amount, and it's like her and two older brothers, and we all share this PlayStation 1. I know this is total tangent. Just deal with it. All right, skip ahead.
Did you have Metal Gear Solid?
I don't want to hear it. I was about to say they had Metal Gear Solid,
nice.
Twisted Metal, and Twisted Metal 2. And every time she came down, she's like, guys, can we play like Parappa the Rapper? And they're like, get the fuck out of here. We're playing Twisted Metal. We're playing Metal Gear Solid. You got to get out of here. So I was associated
with
Parappa the Rapper. It's like the happy sing-along one that I actually really wanted to play, but was too lame to say, actually, guys, I want to play that because they wanted to play Twisted Metal. Anyway.
Twisted Metal is pretty good, though.
Dude, that game was legit. Game was legit. We should do a Twisted Metal podcast.
I'm sure all of us were kind of interested in Dota because of some those games you'd play in basements with people like GoldenEye or Twisted Metal or James Bond 007 GoldenEye.
Like, yeah, that's where the seeds of our salt were born, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's when I first knew I could be salty and get reported.
Yeah, man, Sweet Tooth.
GoldenEye, I get tattled on. I'd be like, you don't tattle on me. It's intense. Golden gun abuse, baby. But anyway, we're going to move on. I
gotta circle it back. All right,
so... This is just, we haven't seen each other or talked in a while, you know? It's like catching up. I'm like, you look good, Blue. And you're like, thanks. She treats me well.
I do look good. Thank you.
But anyway, what do we want to talk about? We have a little bit of time left.
Buyback. So, what do we want to talk about? So we talked about buyback.
We talked about unreliable gold. Buyback, we didn't really talk about why you should and why you shouldn't. We should talk about that. Yeah. Because it's something some people entirely neglect, and it's a very, very powerful resource that if you don't know the mechanics to, or you think it's one of those things that you're just supposed to buy back and get a bunch of kills, then, you know, it doesn't really work out.
Yeah, oftentimes buybacks are most effective when they think you don't have it. Like, there's that point in the game where it's maybe like 50 minutes in and you're like, okay, it's time for us to go, you know, like we just killed their carry, you know, and this is the enemy thoughts. You're like, we just killed their carry, that would be you, and, you know, maybe we'll force a buyback. And then they try and go high ground, they kind of peck at the tower trying to bait it out. They're like, wait, maybe he doesn't have buyback. And then that's when they overcommit. The second you think they're going to overcommit, buying back is usually like that's the optimal time. And there isn't really I can't give you like a tangible scenario, but that was like the best shot I could give.
I like it. And if anyone's played the game or heard of the game of Risk, I heard it explained this way and I really liked it. In Risk, when you go to attack another country or section of the map or whatever, you think there's only a couple guys on it. But say like you go to attack it, and right as you go to attack it, there's suddenly 4 guys on it. This is what you want to have happen when they start to take your buildings. Like, you know, you want to be ready to come back, and what they invested is now overpowered by what you've invested fighting on your own ground. So you can hold it. Or, you know, there's always different scenarios. Like sometimes boots are traveling and like trying to race out a base. Like sometimes it's not bad. I mean, you and I have won games that way.
Right. Or the immediate buyback while you're pushing for that, you know, that third set of racks. Like sometimes it's just better to just buy back and throw your body at that thing, because
sometimes people need to die to accomplish that objective. You know what I mean? Like it's just the truth of the matter of the game. And if you can recognize that, I mean, you know who's a really good player, and we talked about this last week, is Eternal Envy in terms of this. Like that guy understands that he needs to die for objectives sometimes, and buyback is one of those mechanical things that can really, really help your team take an objective if they need to get it down quickly.
Yeah, keeping it in the back pocket. And I mean, it's a struggle a lot, especially with these in pubs that you play, where unless you have like heroes like a lone druid or a tiny or any hero that's like really like built to take high ground like stupid easily, you know, if you don't have one of those heroes, you need to have the buyback for offensive or defensive capabilities, because there's a good chance the game's going to go late unless you're able to force something. And when you're forcing something, there's a good chance you're going to die, unless you're like Miracle or something. You're just too damn good at this game, and everyone should be bowing at your feet. But that's
so. At what point do you think people should have buyback? Like after 25 minutes, after 30 minutes? Does it depend? When do you have buyback up in lieu of getting an item right off the bat? Because that's something I still struggle with.
That's you know, and you could always give the BS like, well, it's situational kind of answer, but I hate hearing that.
We're not going to do that. Not in the mechanics episode. Right. We'll do that on the other episode about feelings in Dota or something, which is what we do every other time.
Maybe the best way to posit it is by saying, you know, maybe 80% of the time, you know, there's a good chance you're going to want to have buyback after 20 minutes. Yeah. After 25 minutes, let's say that. 80% of the time. It will be a good decision to save for buyback and then get the next item once you have both of those things secure, right? So you can buy that item and you still have buyback.
I always see it as, you have to look at the power skills, like the power curves, as we've talked about in past shows, of your heroes. And if you're dealing with a team that's really, really mid-game centric and going to take advantage of that mid-game, it's probably a good idea to have buyback up. You don't want to lose a bunch of tier 2s for nothing. And if you can buy back and save some tier 2s, that's fine. I don't think it's really worth it sometimes to save tier 1s, depending on the location, you know, and there's always exceptions, guys. Like, I know that. Like, there's moments I bought back and, like, boom shakalaka'd my way to, like, a triple kill. But that doesn't always mean it's, like, a great idea, for one. And for two, like, it's not always going to be a rule to do that. Like sometimes you just lose fights and you give up the tower, and if you invest more guys by buying back, you're just like poking more holes in your sinking boat.
Yeah, they have to be really overcommitting. I think that's one of the common themes of when is buyback effective? When the enemy team is overcommitting for something where you can easily punish it, and there's very few ways for them to escape without you taking something off them, right? If they are in the process of taking a tier 2, and all of a sudden you buy back, well, guess what? They can just disperse, right? Because they aren't trying to breach high ground. They're not in a inescapable position, right? They can just.
But sometimes it is if they press too far, like if they take a tier 1 and then they keep going for a tier 2, and maybe you have. By this point in the game, you probably wouldn't even need to use a buyback because the respawn timer will be so low. But if you did, like if it's later in the game, it's a good time, like you said, that when they overstep that line, you're there and you're punishing them for that overstep. So that's a really good point to make, that it's either going to be a defensive maneuver used to hold the last legs of your base, or it's going to be something you use to push an advantage when you really need to win the game. It's that dire card, it's your Trump card. It's your Donald Trump card. That's where that comes from, right?
Please don't. Just call it
it's a Forrest Gump card.
There you go.
Yeah, like when he breaks out of his bracers and just runs all the way home. You could have just
called it like your Stalin card. And be like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah. Like, go for it. But
tainted.
Tainted. He's ruined that word. Anyways, so
I think it's very applicable to a situation, though. Believe it or not.
I guess that's very true. When you're buying back, when you're just made of money, just throw it everywhere.
But I like that explanation. It's always going to be situational, but I don't like to give up racks at 20 minutes. I know you guys don't. Yeah. Sometimes it's worth a buyback. It's worth to have it.
Yes.
You want to build for the game you're in. You don't want to build for the game you're not in. And by that, I mean you don't want to be holding on to a bunch of money for Radiance when it's like 38 minutes into the game and not buying back to help your team kind of thing.
For sure. I think, I guess to wrap up this kind of discussion on the mechanics, let's just talk about like some funny stuff maybe not funny stuff, but like interesting mechanics that may impact, how you itemize against certain heroes. I know for me, something I just found out just a couple days ago was that the Weaver bugs that he has, his Q,
Germinate or whatever.
The Germinate, yeah. I think
it's infestation or whatever.
Whatever his Q thing is, where he throws out those bullshit bugs that reduce armor and attack. Turns out also they don't you can't phase shift out of that. So if you're Puck, like, you are in trouble because that thing is going to chew through your blink dagger. It's going to prevent it from
was it
going
always
off
that way? That's interesting.
I think it has been. I'm not sure, but because
then
I don't
again,
play a lot of Puck.
You can just orb out of it, like
you can orb away, yes, but like that, taking away your blink dagger as Puck, and you've already used your phase shift. It's a lot of commitment to have to do that. And
so what about
she's a squishy hero. Anyways, that was
that hero is there in that position. You use it. If the bug doesn't reach that position in time and you've already phase shifted away, then the bug doesn't go through, obviously, right?
No, it always goes. You can be phase shifting. He throws out bugs where you're phase shifting. It hits you.
So even if you've... that's interesting.
Right?
So it's just because the hero model is still in that position?
Apparently.
So even if you're... Yeah, that's weird. That's a weird interaction.
It's some goofy shit, right?
There's so many things like that in Dota.
I know, right? Just something to keep in mind. If you're like, how do I deal with this freaking Puck? Maybe I pick... maybe you pick Weaver. Try that out. The other one that maybe people are more aware of, but if you're newer, it's another one that I always find is fun when people find out the hard way, is as Ember Spirit, if someone yules you up and you have Flame Guard on, no more Flame Guard. That shit's gone. Like, it's not coming back. Goodbye, Flame Guard. It never happened. And so
because the yules takes off the buff, so
takes it off, debuffs, and people really easily forget about that. But that's a lot of the reason why people still go for yules on Invoker, especially against the item, is to set up for that.
Speaking of Invoker, I want to talk a bit about the change that he got with you still being able to cast spells now in Sonic Boom or whatever.
Yeah, spells, throw out items like
because now as Sven, which is the only hero I'm playing really right now, like you just charge up, man. And even if you don't have a BKB, you can get to him in time, and like he's in trubs, big trubs.
Or you war cry around the meatball.
Exactly. You just run. Either you beeline it straight out, like at an angle, so he doesn't meatball you, because he's stationary for that combo. So to be able to cast and stuff, and like up your armor when he's ready to do his combo, like that's a pretty big nerf as far as I can tell for like the melee carry.
Yeah, it doesn't stop the magic damage, but often he or someone else is right-clicking while you're being shoved away. So if you're able to work right in it, you can
still throw out Stormhammer and like stunts and shit though too. It's like pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like that before you were silenced as well. So it was just like you could only just sit there, or try to like negotiate like a way to not get your ass lit on fire, which wasn't going to happen.
you negotiate your way out.
You're like, how am I going to negotiate my way out of this one? And it just doesn't happen. A meteor falls on you.
Because I'm a guy, you're a guy. We both like playing this game called Dota. Could you just, could you not?
We don't have to get the cops involved.
Yeah.
I had a friend tell that a guy, he like backed into a guy, and the guy was like, my fucking car. My friend was like, we don't have to get the cops involved. And I was like, who says that shit?
Yeah. I got 2 Benjamins that says that we don't need to call nobody about this.
That's how I feel about Dota. But Invoker's a more balanced hero overall. I just thought that was an interesting mechanical change that really did change the hero, because he was like a control freak, that hero.
Yeah.
Like he yules right into that Sonic Boom Meteor Meatball combo. Like it's just like
from like the 15-minute mark to the 25-minute mark, that thing is just unstoppable. If he's able to get the full combo off, it's literally you have.
It just had such a good initiation range,
Like you have the Lena combo on steroids, basically. Like that's exactly what it is. It's just a setup for 2 or 3 different spells, one right into the next. So
Lena's abilities, like she's like a one pump jump kind of, like she has to spend all that. With Invoker, he like can just bounce out a bit and then come back when the combo's up again and do it again.
That's
like,
true. That's
that
true.
Lena, like her combo's a lot different without that Laguna up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
that's very true. It's very true. But I think that does it for like the mechanics talk that. I felt like we could contribute the most to on. I mean,
I like it.
There's other people who can contribute more, especially for hero-specific stuff. Like the guy I've been watching on YouTube a lot, who I really like, is Guru Pathik. He does a full thing on Queen of Pain and all the mechanics that go into getting out all your spells super quick. There's all these different places and resources that people can go to for specific hero guys, but we wanted to kind of just touch on all the stuff that really anyone, your average Joe Dota player, really could benefit from, and something that we ourselves are working on, I know, constantly, right?
Yep. It's something that you'll always see strides in, I think, because you repeat these actions over thousands of hours. I'm about to hit like 2,900 or something. It's like, jeez.
Yeah. What am I doing?
Hey, I don't have them split over 3 accounts like you. No, I'm joking.
Dude, that second account, there's so much regret. So much regret. But
let's reach out to our fellow community members in terms of what they're doing. Blue, do you want to give your plugs, and I will give mine?
Yeah, I wanted to mention that speaking of additional accounts, I've been playing a lot more solo lately. I just wanted to add this, and I am hoping to reach my march to 4K by the end of the month, and we'll see how it goes. But so far, it's been really fun. I haven't had this much fun playing some solo games in a long time, so it's really encouraging. And you know what happened to me the other day?
You enjoyed a game of Dota?
Come on now, don't get crazy here. But I was playing some Nature's Prophet, as I want to do, and I took him off lane. I did my thing, did my laning thing, and you know what happened? There were 2 supports on my team. First of all, that was cool. And they went up and they're like, hey, we're going to smoke mid. Would you like to teleport in and help us gank this Invoker? It was like Invoker against like Puck or something like that, right? And I was like, well, me? You're asking me if you want me to help you gank? Well, of course. It was like, I don't know, it was like I felt like that like middle-aged woman who was like being asked out on a date for the first time in like 20 years. It was just like, me? No. Really?
Or a young ginger man that doesn't have the comfort of his wife being asked out after 20 years.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Well, analogies all around, but I see what you mean. Yeah, people continue to surprise you.
Yeah, it was so refreshing, and we ended that game in 19 minutes. We crushed so hard, and it was so fun because you could see that like as you're getting better, you feel the level of competition meeting you, and it's like people are doing stuff that like you normally I'd have to like what was it like I'd have to general Cyphus my way around, where I'd have to command like, okay guys, come on, can we smoke here? Come on, can we rotate this way? No, please don't run through the river, stuff like that. Like I don't have to do any more of that babysitting. Like I'm just playing, and other people are like, hey, smoke. Like they're just pinging smoke. I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that, right? Like I don't have to be the babysitter, and I love it. I love it, and I'm excited to be ranking up and playing some more solo. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's
awesome. All I wanted to say.
Gives me hope, because I'm still digging, man. I'm still digging. Sometimes I dig down, and sometimes I dig myself back out.
That's right.
I'm just like trying to figure out the game again, but I'm able to put a little bit more time into it, and I'm having some fun. A couple more games a day, so I'm having fun. That's what I'm focusing on right now. Is just like falling in love with my sweetheart,
Falling back in love.
Going to our favorite restaurants and stuff, sitting on the pier, talking about our feelings. It's nice.
You're at the 10-year anniversary where you need to get back into the, you need to fall back in love.
Sometimes she just, sometimes she speaks in Peruvian or Russian, which is kind of weird, but I can overlook these type of flaws.
You can move past that, right?
Yeah, move past it. She sings Russian drinking anthems to me. I'm like, this is uncomfortable.
She's a lady of the world.
Yeah. But anyway, as for plugs, Blue, where can people reach you?
You find me at, hang on, I got the new one. I want to make sure I get it right. .p _ Mr. Blue.
Did you clear that with our legal, by the way? The use of the .p name? I mean, no, I'm joking.
We'll have a conversation after. No,
I'm glad you've joined. You're locked in now, man. Contractually.
I know. Yeah, it's exciting. It's nice to be a part of the .p fam. So.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you. You're like a brother from another mother.
Oh, so cliche.
Let's not get all. Yeah. Hey, sometimes true feelings are cliche. We all have them.
That is
we all have them. But okay. Thanks for changing, man. You've been inducted into the cult now. Send us a vial of blood. Marked with a line from the Necronomicon.
We want you to sever a finger and just mail it on over.
Not a finger just yet. That's when you really take the blood oath.
I thought you wanted the ginger finger thing from Burger King.
Well, I have to still talk to them about that.
You got to talk to Mark.
You guys are pretty rare.
That's true.
So it's we have to figure out a farm and all that stuff.
I don't want to sell one of these off to, for just like a pilot test, so.
Yeah. But anyway, guys, I am your host, the Grand Wazoo. Had a great time on this show. I want to plug the in-houses. These guys are doing a lot of work every week to ensure that this is a fun event for everybody. Trying to figure out some logistics, and everyone's having a great time. Check out the ladder at defenseofthepations.com. If you need to get a hold of someone for community outreach or you have any questions, you can contact @GrowdyDota on Twitter. He's a friend and someone who has done a great job helping to organize that. I, however, will soon be doing an in-house night with all of you where I host an MC because Roland needs a night kind of to himself. He's been putting in lots of hours. I come out here with like a cup of coffee and he's like, I'm still working. Like that hasn't happened, but the image is nice. So I will be doing that. I'll be taking the ring in one of these nights and we'll have a good time. Check out our YouTube at .ptv1 and our Twitch channel at .ptv. You can find the show at .p_show and me at .p_wazoo. It's been a great time, guys. Thanks for coming along. The episode was a little longer than usual, but we had a lot of nuts and bolts to handle in the mechanics. So in Tool Time, if none of you have seen that, then...
God, wrap up the damn show.
Okay, I just need to ask, because we were saying that we were like Tim Allen and Al from Tool Time, that Tim Allen show. So, what do you think? Who would be Al? Who would be Tim? Who's the family man? Who's the friend that nobody knows about? You let me know. You tweet at us on Twitter, guys. Thanks for joining us. Stay hard and stay super classy.